Hello and welcome back. My name is Seth. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel, How I Think. Today I'll be covering Microsoft Lync Server 2010. This is the unified messaging and collaboration platform. And Lync previously was known as Office Communicator 2007, OCS 2007, where users can use their OCS client to communicate within their corporate network, set up meetings, video conferencing, and so on and so forth. This is just the newer version. So in this video, or in this series of videos, I'll be showing you how to install Lync Server. And this is going to be a very basic install. I'm going to be installing everything on one server. When you run the network topology utility, you can go crazy with it. You can have a front end server, a back end server with SQL, front end with Lync, a monitoring and analyzing server, an edge server, federation server, you name it. I mean, you can really expand this out. But for our purposes, we're only going to be using, for demonstration purposes, just this one server, which will give you the overview of how it's installed and how it's done. So I've spun up two servers. This is the domain itself is called lync2010.local, and right now we're looking at the Lync server. It has static IP, and the other server that we have is the domain controller, which I've already spun up and ready to go. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing that needs to be done is we need to make sure that within the roles, we need to have a certificate authority installed. So we'll go ahead and click on Add Role. I'm going to hit Next, and I'm going to click on Active Directory Certificate Services. I hit Next, We're going to install the first two, Certificate Authority and Certificate Authority Web Enrollment. And we'll hit Next. And this is going to be the Enterprise. That is the select this option if this CA is the member of a domain and can use directory services to issue and manage certificates. But that's exactly what this is going to be doing. So we're going to choose that first option, hit Next. We're going to be leaving this as a root CA because this is the first root certificate authority server that we're installing. So we'll hit Next. We're going to create a new private key, hit Next. Leave everything as is, we'll hit Next. We'll leave the common name and the distinguished name the same. Hit Next, that's fine, hit Next, Next, and this is going to go through and hit Install. This is going to go through and set up some of these the services within IIS and then the root services, certificate services. So we'll let this finish. Alright, so as you can see, the installation was successful. I'm going to hit Close. And now we're going to go ahead and jump back onto the Lync server. Alright, so this is the Lync server. So what we first need to do here is make sure that just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the firewall. Alright, I've turned firewall off. Now what I need to do is make sure that our remote administration tools are installed. Oops, wrong place. features. Come down here. That would be the Windows Remote Server Administration Tools. And basically all we need is the Active Directory services and tools. Next, we'll hit install. It's going to require us to reboot. Click close. Hit yes. Alright, so the server rebooted and we logged back in. And it's going to go ahead and finish its configuration. There we go, and it installed it. So now what we need to do is install IIS. And this is going to go through and install IIS with all its necessary services and settings enabled. Okay, so it looks like IIS installed, as you can see here. Now what we need to do is copy this, and I need to install ServerLite. And I'll include all of these links so far that I've used in the description, so you can go ahead and just copy them yourself. As you saw, I said I can't download the ServerLite because it's disabled. We'll come back to your server manager where it says configure IESEC. Make sure you turn this off. And now we can, as you can see, we can run ServerLite. Alright, so ServerLite has been installed. I'll go ahead and close this. During the installation of Lync, further on, and I'll show you where, usually you'll get an error message because the media format package wasn't installed. So what needs to happen is, according to Microsoft, Microsoft says you need to run this at the time and then rerun the installation. But rather than doing it at that time, it's better to just do everything ahead of time. That's why it's called prerequisites, so you won't have any errors. So I'll go ahead and run this now. Oh, that's right. start the installation. Click on yes. If you get the message for Visual Studio C++ redistribution package, just click yes. It'll install it for you. The Lync will install everything for you in the background, with the exception of .NET Framework 3.5. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and click on install. Accept the terms, hit OK. Okay, at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to click on Prepare Active Directory. So we're going to hit on, click on that link. All right, at this point, we're going to run step 1. Hit next. And as you can see, this extending the schema is only done once per the domain. All right, so the schema has been extended. We're going to click on Finish. Okay, we're going to click on Step 3. I'm going to hit Next. We're going to leave local domain, hit Next. And that's done. We're going to click Finish. What I'm going to do is verify for your purposes. What I can do is open up ADSI Edit. If you right click then say Connect to and choose the schema, because we want to make sure that it's set up correctly. And here what you need to do is run down and verify RTP SIP schema reversion. If you double click this, scroll down, lower range should be 14 and upper range should be 1100. And plus, as we can see, within the schema you have all this now regarding SIP information and so on and so forth. So we know that the schema was extended. Okay, we're going to go ahead and proceed with step 5. I'm going to hit next, and that's done. We're going to click on Finish. Okay, so now what we need to do is open up our users and accounts. We're going to come to our domain, and if you see now that we have CSA administrators now, and that wasn't there before. We're going to go ahead and add administrators to that group. Apply. Okay. We're going to close this, and we're going to see, it tells you right here, excuse me, add the administrative access to the CSA, CS administrator. So we're going to go ahead and hit exit. We'll run it again. So we've already run the, as you can see, we've already prepared our Active Directory by running the schema extension for the forest and for the domain. Now we're going to click on Prepare First Standard Server, which is this, so we're going to go ahead and click on that. Here we're going to hit Next, and this is going to go through and install the necessary files along with SQL Express, because that's what it uses as a backend. You can also use SQL. You can also use SQL Server, and I'll show you where to specify that. Alright, so that's complete. We're going to hit Finish. So now that we've prepared our server, we're going to go ahead and install the topology builder, and that's installed. So now we're going to click on Start, Programs, Link, and run the topology site builder. Okay, we're going to go ahead and click on New. Click OK. Let's name it. We'll call this you can call it whatever you want. Since this is the domain that I'm using, this is what I'll call it. Save. So that's for the primary SIP domain. That's our server. So I'll call this link2010.local. Hit Next. We don't have any additional domains, so we're going to hit Next. Alright, so your first site name, you can call it whatever you want. So I'm just going to keep the naming convention. I'm going to call this Link 2010. Whoops. Link 2010 site. This is first site. Hit Next. Next. We're going to leave the check mark. We're going to click on Finish. Alright, at this point, we're going to go ahead and define our front end. We're going to hit Next. Now here we can choose the standard server, enterprise server. If this was a huge installation with multiple servers, as I explained earlier, then definitely we're going to be doing the enterprise. Also, if you were using dedicated SQL servers, then yeah, you would use this. But because everything's being installed on this single machine here, and we're using SQL Express, so we're going to choose the standard server. So here it wants to know the name, and that would be link SRV. Link 2010.local. Hit Next. We're going to use the conferencing check mark. Hit Next. Hit Next. Next. If you had specified your server initially, had we chosen the Enterprise Edition, then you can. Then this wouldn't have been grayed out, and then you can actually use your instance name and so on and so forth. So hit Next. So we're going to create this share real quickly. Copy this. right? Full control, I mean. Okay. Apply, okay. Close this. Close this. Hit next. Hit next. Finish, I mean. And now we're at our site topology. And if we click on standard server, you'll see that instant messaging and conferencing is enabled. You see our share listed here along with our SQL instance name. This is our fully qualified domain name for the pool. We have our file storage here. And this is our SQL. So now we're going to right click on Lync Server 2010 and go to Edit Properties. Here we're going to click on simple URL, and here we're going to type admin.link2010.local, and then for central management we're going to choose our site and click OK. Now we're going to right click this again and we're going to say publish topology. Alright, so I'm going to hit next, leave that in there, hit next, and it's going to go through and create the central management store. Alright, so as you can see, everything was successful and it published our topology successfully. So we're going to hit finish. Alright, and we can exit out. We'll come back to our deployment. Alright, so now that we're back to our site, we're going to click on the deployment wizard. We're going to click on install or update Lync server system. Now we can go ahead and so far this was, we've just done, updated the schema, got the server ready, set up our topology. Now we're actually going to go ahead and do the installations and do the certificates and so on and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and install a local configuration store. We're going to hit run. Leave the defaults and hit next. It's going to retrieve everything from the settings that we've chosen so far. Alright, so we're going to click on finish. We're going to set up or remove Lync server components. Click on run. Next. Alright, so it looks like it completed successfully. We're going to click on finish. Now we're going to go ahead and request, install, and assign certificates. So we're going to click on run. Alright, so we have all these services here which we need to request certificates for. So we're going to click on request. And we're going to hit next. Alright, so we're going to hit next. Here we're going to click on, or we're going to leave the default because we're requesting it from our certificate authority. We're going to hit next. Alright, we're going to hit next. Okay, so we're here, we'll call this We'll give it a friendly name here and mark the certificate private. We're going to leave the bitname the same. I'm going to hit next, organization, what our domain is. And you can see that these are all the alternate names it's going to give to this subject alternate name certificate. As you can see, it picked up all the hyperlinks. Hit next there, next. These are all the certificates. Hit next. And it's going to go ahead and request this from the our certificate authority, which was our domain controller. Alright, now that its request is complete, we're going to hit next. And we're going to go ahead and assign it. We're going to leave this assigned. And you can actually view the certificate if you want to. Come to details. And if you click on subject alternate names, you will see them all in here. And these are the DNS records we'll need to create. Hit finish. Next. Next. And now it's assigning the certificates. There we go. Hit finish. And now our certificates are installed or assigned. And we can exit out of. So sorry, close. So now that we've assigned our certificates, we can move on to the next phase, which is the starting the services. So we're going to click on Run. Hit Next. It's going to go through and start the services. Now, mind you that if you don't have the certificate services installed, I mean the if you don't assign the certificates, this next step here. It's going to fail. These services won't start. You gotta make sure you assign the right certificates. And we'll come down to Lync, and you can see they're all started successfully. Well, that's because we assigned them, and we have assigned the appropriate certificate, so we're good to go. Here, and then you can check for updates if you want. We'll hit exit. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make sure that the DNS records are set up. I'm going to create a new record, call it admin. If you remember, that was one of the records we created. The other was called dial in. If you remember our topology builder at the end, they told us to go ahead and create these DNS records. Well, that's what we're doing. And alright, we also need to create an SRV record. So for that, we'll click on TCP, right click, other records, SRV record, create SRV. For here, we're going to call it SIP internal TLS TCP 5061 is the port. And 2010 that. And our server, that's our server that's offering this service. I'm going to click on OK. Done. So now we've created an SRV record. So now we can jump back onto our other machine here, and we can go ahead and open up. And we're pretty much done at this point. Now we're going to go ahead and add users. Oh, but you know what? Before I add users, I need to create users. So we're going to click here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of users. And I'm going to call this guy James Bond. James Bond. Yes. We're going to go ahead and give him a password. We're going to go ahead and create another user and call him Mini-Me. And we're going to go ahead and give him a password. Okay. So now what we can do is open up the browser, go https://admin.2010.local. It should prompt us for a username and password because we're the CS administrator. We'll go ahead and log in. And because we installed Silverlight, this should open up because it's all in Silverlight. And there you go. We've logged into our Lync administrator page. You can also get to this page by clicking on Start, Programs, Lync Server, and clicking on Lync Server Control Panel. Alright, enable users for Lync. You can click here, or you can come over here. I'll take you to the same place. We're going to click on Enable Users. Here, we'll go ahead and add the users we want the client or the SIP to be enabled for. We're going to call this. We'll do a search for James. There we go, James Bond. You got to make sure that the user has a first and last name, or else it's not going to accept it. So we'll go ahead and double click this, and we'll search for Mini-Me. There we go. We'll double click this, and it's going to be using this pool that we created earlier using our topology builder, if you remember. And it wants to know what format for them to use. And they're going to be using their email addresses. And this is our pool. And okay, we'll leave everything else as default. We'll click on Enable. And success. So these guys are now enabled for our client. So that's the next thing we need to do, is to test this out. We need to install the client. Okay, so we've installed Lync. I'll go ahead and close everything in the background. And we'll go ahead and start this up. Just so I can show you guys that everything's been installed and communication is working now. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to log in under Mini-Me. Now what you could do is when you log in, you can set this up to auto login, so it won't prompt you for the credentials. It's doing this because we're logged in on a different account. Sign in. And it should prompt us for a username and password. There we go. There you go. It's logged in. Looks like it's working. So we're going to go ahead and try this on the other machine. We've already loaded it. We're going to click on close, and it should start up our Lync client for us. Okay. We're going to log in under James Vaughn, because those are the accounts we created. And the reason all this is communicating with the server is because we created an SRV record, an internal SRV record specifying the port. And they should log in. Voila, there we go. It is logged in. So we know that the SIP. We don't need this. We don't need this over here. I'm going to show you both the servers.